Welcome to episode 4 of Talking with Turpin. Today I'm really excited to have a great friend who I've been privileged to know for many years, New Haven Mayor Steve McMichael. We're going to spend some time talking about his journey to mayor and then some of the great things that are happening in New Haven, which is another thing that just makes life here in Allen County so much better. So, Mayor McMichael, Steve, happy to have you on today. I'm thrilled to be talking about the wonderful city of New Haven and the great things going on. So,
Thanks for inviting me, Ron. As you know, you and I serve on a lot of the same bodies. We're both ultra involved in not just Allen County, but Northeast Indiana. We've been friends for a long time, so I really welcome the invite. So thank
no,
you.
happy to do this. So Steve, tell us a little bit about your background. You're in year 6, I believe, as mayor of New Haven. Seems like just yesterday, doesn't it? But you had a life before public service. So kind of tell us about your background a little bit and what made you decide to run for mayor of New Haven.
Background's easy to explain. The why is a whole nother story. Prior to becoming mayor, my career was in real estate, and I think that might be actually how we met. You had purchased a home that I had listed.
Yep.
But nonetheless, I spent 27 years in the residential real estate industry. I owned Imagine Real Estate, which became Remax Imagine, based here in New Haven. Along the line, I got involved. I came in and talked to then Mayor McDonald back in about 2008 about I had some questions about the city, and we scheduled a 10-minute meeting. An hour and a half later, I walked out, and all of a sudden, I had volunteered for a bunch of stuff. So that was kind of my introduction to government. I served on the Adams Township Advisory Board from 2014 to 2016. Joined the New Haven City Council in 2016, where I served as president 2 of my 4 years there, and became mayor in 2020, in election in 2019, and was sworn in on December 31st, 2019, with no idea how the world was going to change in just a couple of months.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I was on school board, so yes, I understand that. So as you've been mayor, I mean, you had an idea of what was before you because like you said, you were on city council before. You had been on the township advisory board. What surprises did you have as mayor coming in?
You know, I served on the Plan Commission, I served on the Redevelopment Commission, I served on the Board of Zoning Appeals, all before I went on council. So I had a pretty good understanding of the mechanisms of local government. And also, being in the real estate industry, I worked with a lot of developers, and there were a lot of common threads of government being in the way of business. And people asked me to kind of define myself politically or philosophically. So it's 2 things. I'm a pragmatic conservative. I understand the role that I have as a mayor, that I'm not setting state laws, I'm not setting federal laws. There's not a lot of social issues at a city level. It's about making sure potholes are filled, jobs are plentiful, people have places to live. I also am a proud free market capitalist, and what I mean by that is I believe that government should have very limited interference in the capital markets, that private sector should drive decisions and government should only fill gaps. Let's face it, government's not good at a lot of things. And there's a lot of things government gets involved with, and frankly, I've had people come to me, residents over the last 6 years, ask me to get involved with things that really government shouldn't be involved with. I'm a very limited government. Government should only fill in the gaps, the things like public safety, or, for example, we have a mental health initiative we've started in New Haven. That's a gap. There were no private providers out here providing mental health services, so we have created a position called Community Health Coordinator, and we're facilitating and connecting the dots for our residents. But philosophically, I 100% believe that government should be very limited. We have a couple of very strong theories that we go by here. Let's get to the yes. What that means is the answer might be no to what somebody wants to do on paper, but certainly there's enough smart people around the table to figure out a way to meet the community's objectives while meeting the developer's objectives and making that development happen. The other thing is government needs to help or get the heck out of the way. So many times government is its own worst enemy, and that was a repeated theme. And part of the reason why I ran for mayor is government should not be the burden that stops private investment from happening. Profit is not a dirty word. Profit is good. That's what drives all of our markets. That's what creates jobs. That's what creates opportunities for residents.
Yeah, great. So one of the things I tell people about my role as a commissioner is I've got a great role because I represent the 400,000 people that call Allen County home,
Right.
and we are growing rapidly as a county. We're one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Indiana, and a lot of that is New Haven. And one of the privileges I have is I not only represent the people in Fort Wayne, but also New Haven. So we both have a lot of the same constituents. We talk a lot, and growth in New Haven is good for Allen County and something that is important to us because the concept of quality of place is important to us as elected officials. One of the things that we need to do is ensure that we have a high quality of place that people want to move to, and that looks a lot of times partnering with the private sector, making sure government is unintrusive as possible,
Right.
and that we are doing what we need to do to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So let's talk about New Haven growth a little bit, Steve.
Sure.
I know over these last 6 years that has been a big focus of yours. Is that I don't think most people realize how much New Haven has grown the last 6 years. One of the largest communities in Northeast Indiana. So tell us a little bit about that and what Team New Haven is doing to keep perpetuating that growth.
Sure. I want to start by saying it's not all about just growth. It's got to be resilient, sustainable growth. It's got to fit in with our comprehensive plan. We redid our comprehensive plan back in 2022, and a comprehensive plan is the community input. It's what the community wants in the community, and that's kind of our guiding force, right? So we have a number of people in the community that want additional retail. They want a new Kroger. They want additional restaurants. They want additional hotels. Well, that all takes traffic. That takes heads and beds. A lot of site selectors, they're looking for the magic number of 20,000 residents before they will come to a community. So that's part of the goal for sure. Quality of place is definitely affected by the number of coffee shops you have, the number of retail establishments you have, the number of restaurants you have. That all factors into quality of life, so that's really important. But our plan has always been, and we've enacted the plan, to grow in a responsible, sustainable way. So far, we have not had to add to the debt of our utilities, and projected on the way, in the near future, we will not have to do that either to expand capacity, to be able to expand the number of residents we have in the community. We also need to be mindful of the number of police officers that we need, the number of firefighters, the number of medics, the number of dispatchers, the number of public works employees that we have because of growth. So we've been catching up, for example, in our police department. In the time I've been mayor, we've increased our police department 45%. Now that sounds like a huge accomplishment, and it is. It's taken discipline to get there. And the residents of the community deserve to be safe. They deserve that. That's part of being in a community. Just as importantly, the police officers deserve to be safe knowing that there's a couple other officers out there at all times that have their back as well. Now, I talk about we've increased the police department by 45%. The problem is we're just one officer above where we should have been in 2020, based upon FBI statistics of what a community should be, based upon the number of officers you should have per 1,000 residents. So we've been catching up, but we've been making sure that we've been able to do those things. We still have the same number of people in our public works department. We've employed things like AI. We've employed technology to be able to make resources go further. So it's one thing just to blindly grow. It's another thing to grow in a sustainable, responsible way with a plan, because all these streets that are going in, all these water pipes that are going in, they're going to have to be maintained, and they're going to have to be replaced in 15 to 25 years. So there has to be a plan to make all of this work. The other thing that we've worked on through that growth is increased density. Not everybody wants an 80-foot wide lot and with a 2,500 square foot ranch on it. Many people prefer a smaller yard. But let's talk about that from an economic standpoint. First of all, that addresses the housing crisis that we have. The smaller the lot, the cheaper the development cost, and then it lowers the price of the entry point for homes and helps that missing middle. But the other thing is from a municipal standpoint. Now when we're running a snowplow down a street, we're passing 8 houses instead of 5. That school bus from East Allen County Schools, or Fort Wayne Community Schools on our north side of our city, is now running a school bus past 8 houses instead of 5. That water pipe that needs to be replaced someday is servicing 8 customers, 8 families instead of just 5. So density is part of the plan that we certainly have rolled out. There had been no multifamily built prior to our administration since the early 90s in the community. We have lost hundreds of our children, of our nieces, of our nephews, of our friends to Fort Wayne and other communities because there were not nice rental options available. That's been part of it also. Now, you mix in the current climate with Senate Enrolled Act 1, where income tax is going to be a much larger portion of municipal government finance than property taxes. That actually looks awful smart because heads and beds now are going to integrate income tax. So it's all about sustainability. It's not just, hey, will you please come build here, build whatever you want. There has been a plan in place.
So let's talk about housing for a moment.
Sure.
Because
a passion of mine.
No, it is, but it is one thing that we know in the region, Northeast Indiana.
Yes.
In Allen County in particular, we have anywhere from a 5,000 to 6,000 housing, shortage. That we know that, and that was exacerbated by COVID. A lot of the buildings stopped. So growth is happening in Allen County. We don't have enough, housing variety in particular for the people who want to live here. And one of the things that's unique about New Haven, the price point is such that if you're a young family just starting out, or if you're a family kind of at the end of your career, it's a great place to live because there is housing stock that is in that price range that you might not find in other parts of Allen County. And it's hard to not go to places in New Haven where you don't see housing being built. So why has housing been such a priority for your administration?
Well, my background in real estate, clearly, I saw that was an issue. One of the things that stuck with me, and it's hanging up in my study at home, is a article that the Journal Gazette did in 2017. It's got a picture of me in front of a house that I sold here in New Haven, talking about how the prices in New Haven were 20% cheaper than other places in the county. And that just didn't sit right with me. That in one way it was really good because a great value to live here, but at the same time, why should people in New Haven's property be worth less than another part of the county? So that's been part of the driving force. But again, fortunately, both of my daughters and their husbands live in New Haven, but my youngest daughter moved to Defiance, Ohio. There was not an apartment available here in New Haven that met what she wanted. My oldest daughter, when she got married, they moved to an apartment in Fort Wayne. Luckily, we got them back. But there was not that transitional, let's call it, housing available through rentals. Not everybody is prepared to own a home. Not everybody's at the part in their life where they want to own a home. And you need to have Class A rental space available. Really good example of that is out on Landon Road, the Gateway Complex. I remember when the ribbon was cut on that a few months ago, the pundits said nobody will pay that to live in New Haven. It's almost completely full. You drive by the complex and there is a car in front of every unit, and there is a market for that. We have another complex that's currently under construction next to the community center called Crossroads. These are beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage townhouse rental units. I want to say that again, 2-car garage rental. So it's been really important. Our first planning director, Rob Gutierrez, who is now a city manager out in Colorado, we worked together on creating the R4 zoning, which the county has since implemented as well. And what that does, it takes care of very, very reduced setbacks and creates an opportunity for builders to come in. We have new homes being built by Lancia in Canal Square that are in the $219,000 range for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a garage, brand new. So we've been able to work through making changes in planning, in zoning, and frankly, that let's get to the yes mentality that we use as an administration.
I think one of the things, Steve, as whether you're the county executive or a city executive like we both are, one of our key things that we need to do is casting vision. and that leadership to cast vision, because most people don't like change. And, most people, it's uncomfortable. And, we have to kind of help lead through that change of
Right.
why it's a good thing.
Right.
You've certainly not been afraid to tackle big, bold things. Your vision for New Haven is big. It's bold, which is one of the things that, has bonded us, is that big, bold vision. And you can kind of see behind us, here, some of the things that you've been doing. So let's talk about some of those visions. Obviously, it's been an interesting, year and a half or so for you. Started off with initially kind of your vision for the casino, on the east side of New Haven, and the legislature didn't move forward on that. But tell us a little bit about why. Why was that a good thing you felt for the citizens of New Haven?
I initially was very reluctant, and I read what the detractors had said, and I kind of took that at face value, and I thought, well, you know what? A private developer wants to come in and spend $500 million, create hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs, and transform the community. I owe it to look into this. I owe it to the community. So I went on a tour. I went to 13 of the 14 casinos in Indiana, drove around, talked to mayors, talked to sheriffs, talked to city council people, talked to foundation directors, and I was hoping they would say what I had been told, because that would have been the easy thing, would have been to say no. But I didn't get that anywhere. So I wanted, ultimately, and you and I talked about this, I wanted a referendum of Jefferson Township residents and New Haven residents on this. I didn't want it to be decided at the State House. That being said, as I said, after the decision was made, I respect the process. I understand the process. And I'm okay with the process. But I have no regrets. But I think it was a game changer for the city of New Haven, and I simply wanted the people of New Haven to make the decision themselves instead of it being done by the state legislature. And you and I talked about that at the time.
No, we did. I mean, my thought was it should be a county referendum. Yours was, the township, which again makes sense as to why. I believe there are times, in our citizens' lives where there are big enough issues
Right.
that it makes sense to hear from them directly. And a
Correct.
referendum is a great way to do that, right? And then both sides have to sell
That's right.
their argument.
That's right.
Because we both feel that, government that's closest to the people usually knows what the people want more than whether it's in D.C. or whether it's in Indianapolis on that.
At 100%.
Yeah. So one of the things that, I love about you is, you don't have a setback and just, go home and cry about it. You just keep moving on. And that is Team New Haven keeps moving on, right? And so last week was one of those. You had a kind of a special groundbreaking last week. So tell us a little bit about your vision for the field house. And it's taken some twists and turns. However, it's still moving forward. It's going to be a great thing for the citizens of New Haven and Allen County. So tell us a little bit more about that.
The newly rebranded district is a great example of the grit, resilience, and agility that myself and this administration and this community frankly have. We don't give up. We just we bob, we weave, we go over, we go under, or we go around. And this is a great example of this. One of the former partners decided that with the developer that their property wasn't optimum to be used for this field house, so we came up with Plan Q, right? When a big project like this, you always have contingencies in place and ready to go. The vision of the district is a dynamic complex that will include not only a 160,000 square foot field house with basketball and volleyball and turf and a great facility from Parkview Sports Medicine, which will benefit not only athletes but the residents of New Haven, Eastern Allen County, and even into Northwest Ohio, but also restaurants, hotels, and other retail that no doubt will follow this. We partnered with Card & Associates. That relationship started about 3 years ago. They have these facilities in Lebanon, Mishawaka, Pendleton, and Noblesville. And they've got some other under construction also. And they understand how to bring housing, retail, and other amenities to these complexes. So the field house that we have behind us is a catalyst for all those things. And we fully believe that the area of the 4,000 block of Minnick Road will provide all those amenities. And again, I talked about earlier, people in the community are telling us almost every day they want more restaurants, they want more retail opportunities, and this is the catalyst to it. This will bring the traffic. This will bring thousands of families a month to New Haven. But I think it's really important to note also, Card & Associates and our administration is committed to making sure that this isn't just something that the businesses that locate at the district benefit from. We've worked really hard. We're extending trail from downtown out to the district. Right now, it goes as far as the corner of Minnick and Lincoln. The contract has already been issued that to go along Minnick Road from the intersection of Lincoln Highway and Minnick down past Parkview Medicine right now on Minnick. And we'll get that next section done also, which will connect the district into there. But that portion will be done next spring. So by the time the field house opens in late 26 or early 27, we anticipate a trail or pedestrian connectivity from the district to New Haven. It's really important to us, it's really important to Andy Card, the developer, that existing businesses like Rack and Helen's and the Treon, and they go on and on, these great establishments that have been in New Haven for years, that they benefit from this also. A great example is in Lebanon. Mayor Matt Gentry was telling us the first weekend that their field house was open, and the one is in Lebanon is pretty much a twin to what we're building. They had 6,000 people there. And the restaurants, existing restaurants, reported just a surge in sales, and it just instantly was a catalyst for the entire community. This isn't just about sports. But let's talk a little bit about sports because, as I said in my remarks last week, this complex will shape the future of many of our youths. This is an opportunity to have a world-class facility in our community that is going to shape the futures of the youth of New Haven, of Allen County, and Northwest Ohio. This is going to be something that many of us, if not all of us, are going to be very proud of.
You know, as you talk about legacy, which I see that as one of those, I tell our team all the time, my vision for Allen County during my term as commissioner, whether it's 3 more years or whether it's 20 years, is that we become the most thriving, dynamic county in the state of Indiana. That when people look at quality of place and look at growth opportunities and good government, they see us as the model of that. Tell us a little bit about what is your vision, Steve? I know, you're 6 years in. I know that, you're looking seriously, if not already decided that you're going to go for another term. I mean, you're committed to this community deeply. Mm-hmm. What's your vision overall for New Haven?
Again, sustainability is really important. We need to make sure that we're establishing additional sources of revenue, additional opportunities for our residents, be it jobs, be it entertainment, be it hospitality. But the revenue picture is really important. We want to make sure that we're continuing to lower our tax rate here, that the burden of the city portion of their property taxes continues to go down. We want to make sure that we attract those restaurants, those requested retail opportunities to the community. That's part of the vision. But the vision also, frankly, is that we build a community that's healthy, that is connected, where neighbors talk to neighbors, and where we look out for each other. And if I had a bumper sticker, which I don't, it would say next to Fort Wayne, but not Fort Wayne. And I think there is a great contrast in between Fort Wayne and New Haven. And that's not saying anything bad about Fort Wayne. It's just different. When you come to New Haven, when you came to New Haven today, I don't know if you came down Lincoln Highway or Landon.
I did.
What did you see on every light pole?
You see New Haven, banners and
American flags,
yeah,
right?
Right.
This is New Haven, Indiana, United
Right.
States of America. We are a smaller community that our residents benefit. My house to Parkview Field is 10 minutes. My house to Fort Wayne International Airport is about 15 minutes. I can leave my garage, drop my bags at the American counter, and be at the security line in 20 minutes. There's a lot of places that people live in Fort Wayne that can't do that, particularly live out by Lima and DuPont and in that area. So we truly have the best of both worlds. We have a smaller, more connected community out here. And we have the benefits of living next to a larger city.
So, no, I think you said that well, Steve, that, as I look at Allen County, I mean, we have 660 square miles, the largest geographic sized county in the state of Indiana. However, there are multiple areas of Allen County that look very different, right?
Yeah.
If you want very urban, there's options for that. If you want more suburban, if you want rural, if you don't want to ever see anybody, there's options for that too. But and each community is unique.
Right.
And what I love about Allen County is, and when you've run a campaign, you've had to walk the neighborhoods and see the uniqueness that is there. And there is definitely, there's a lot of pride in New Haven for the people that are here, and there's some good growth here. So, and some great things going on. And I think you are kind of the epitome of that, and your team of that pride and growth of this community.
One thing I'm extremely proud of is we've grown the number of houses, we've grown the number of people, we also grown our heritage. And that's a really difficult thing to do. Lots of times communities grow and they forget who they were. We have done, in my mind, a really good job of reminding people and telling the story that our community was built through transportation. First the Maumee River with Native American passage, then the Wabash and Erie Canal, and then the Wabash and the Nickel Plate Railroad, and then Lincoln Highway. Broadway, our main street through downtown New Haven, in a mile and a quarter, has all of that history. I'm particularly proud also, we introduced earlier this year the Boulevard of Heroes. And the Boulevard of Heroes stretches, it's the beginning of Broadway at North River, and we recognize public safety and military service there. So the Boulevard of Heroes starts Broadway, and Broadway ends at Schnelker Park. Not only is it our community park where we have gatherings, but it's also our Veterans Memorial Park. That is deep in my DNA. That is deep in the DNA of this community. Not only do we serve, but we honor those who serve and have served as well.
Yeah, and I do love, there's something always going on in New Haven. If you look at social media posts or New Haven's website, a month won't go by that you don't see some kind of community activity, whether it's a fall festival or a summer festival that, your team has done and the community's done. And so, there's a lot of great things going on here. And so.
And again, you talk about vision. I have people all the time, probably every day, that come up and say, Mayor, what a great job you're doing. And it's like, hold on a second. The only thing I've done is cast a vision, hire an amazing team, and empower them with some wide guardrails to be able to do their job. And our Parks Department, our Community Development Department, these men and women do amazing work. Our public safety between East Central Fire Territory, the New Haven Police Department, and never forget the dispatchers. The dispatchers are critical to all this as well. So I am just honored to be part of Team New Haven, and I love the things that are happening out here.
So, well, we're out of time, Mr. Mayor. It was a pleasure spending time with you, and hopefully you all learned a little bit about New Haven and some of the great things going on. We'd encourage you, if it's been a while since you've been out here, come out to New Haven. Steve and his team would love to have you, and there's great things going on all the time out here. So
Ron, if I could, I want to share something. One of my friends, retired Mayor Clint Lamb, shared yesterday, and I think this is kind of a good way to kind of end things, because this is really important. If you want to have a long career in politics, do nothing. Avoid criticism. Make everyone happy. Do not make progress. Do not accomplish anything. Just make the easy choices. Pander to your base. Never take a risk. Maintain the status quo. Don't forget to make sure that you send as many high school graduates away, and do nothing to make the community attractive for outside investment or for them to want to move back home. Wring your hands, blame others, don't invest in yourself, and talk about how great things used to be, and bash anyone who cares or tries to make things better. Your community might go to hell, but hey, you can tell your grandkids many years how you serve the public. I think that that's really important, that people like you and myself, that we continue to be courageous leaders, listen to all sides, but at the same time, remember that our role is to move the communities forward. You and I serve on a lot of committees together, including the Strategic Development Commission, where we both were founding members of that. I don't know about you. I've never seen a comp plan. I've never seen a strategic analysis that says do nothing or go backwards. It's always about growing quality of life, growing the number of people. So I appreciate having the opportunity to work with you on issues. Like I said, we serve on a lot of different bodies together and become great friends over the year, and I appreciate everything that you do.
We have. Well, it's an honor to call you friend as well, my friend. So thank you for joining us today on episode 4 of Talking with Turpin, and we look forward to seeing you soon.